So to start our Flask application, we need to first create our virtual environment. So right now you can see I already have two virtual environments activated. So I will go ahead and first deactivate them. I have both conda-based and normal virtual environment activated. So I have deactivated them. Now we have to create a virtual environment from the scratch. The way we do it in the Python is we have to first install the virtual environment and then we can activate it. Now in order to install virtual environment, you can open your web browser and just simply write install virtual environment. It will bring you to the Python page and you can see there are multiple ways of doing it. This is if you install the virtual environment package, and second approach is if you do it Python way. Okay, so we will do it Python way. I already have Python installed. I will write Python -m, then env, and then our virtual environment name. I will write it env. This will create a folder in our project directory which will contain all of the installed libraries or packages that our project will be using. Now I will go ahead and activate this virtual environment. The way we do it is we write source in Linux. In Windows, if you're using, you can simply give it a path of the activate file, which is inside your scripts and then inside your binary folder. I will do it for Linux. So I will write source env bin and activate. Now you can see I have activated my environment. It's showing this env, which is my environment name. Now I will go ahead and install Flask. For that I have to write pip install Flask. This will install Flask and all the Flask dependencies in my application. Now I will go ahead and try to import Flask from the installed package. Now the way we do it is we write from Flask import Flask. Now you can see I got hints to import it. You will not get it. The reason I got it is because I use GitHub Copilot, which I have purchased. So it will keep showing me hints, type hints. We only have to use Flask, but I will go ahead and import the request as well, because I will be showing you guys how to use a request and how to return responses. Now to initialize our Flask application, we have to create an object of Flask. Now in order to create an object of Flask, we have to instantiate it from the Flask class that we just imported. We use Flask and then we will pass it as a name parameter. And I will go ahead and write Flask run. Now this run function, it takes two of the parameters. One is port and second one is debug. Now if you keep debug as true, it will enable and start a debugger, and which will also refresh or restart your application on each save whenever you save any file. Now this port is the port on which your application will be accessible. Now there are a couple of ways you can run this file. The normal way I tend to do is run it as a Python file. Now, so for that I will simply write Python or Python 3, depends on which version you're using. I will do python .main.py because I have named it as main.py. You can see it's giving us a warning saying that this is a development server, and it is, and it also shows us that it is running on this host. Now the reason it shows this warning is because this is actually a development server, and whenever you try to deploy this application, you will most probably try to use an external package to run this application on. By package I mean you will be using servers like WHCI, UVCon, like those are production grade web application servers which support multiple configurations. Like they can start your application on multiple threads. They support multiple concurrent connections. A more advanced way of starting and deploying application. But for now, this should work because we are only trying out things. Now, in order to define a sample route, I will write what is being suggested to me. I will write @app.route. I will give this definition. So what this definition means is there's a method called route on the app instance or the app object. And this method takes two of the parameters. It can take multiple parameters, but for now we will give it two parameters. So first one is the path, or we also call it API endpoint. So this path can be complex or it can be simple. For our case, we will only keep it API, and this supports a request called post. Now inside this method, which is a list, you can pass multiple request types. So for my case, I will write it get as well because I want it to support the get method. And then you can write your function. Now whatever logic you write inside this function, that function will be executed whenever this endpoint is called. So I will simply select this logic that I have written. So you can see in the case of post, it has written this request.getJSON, which I will come to later on. But for now, we will only be looking in our get method what it will do when the request type is get. So in that case, it will go inside the else part. You can see it simply returns the JSON. Now I will go ahead and I will try to call this endpoint. I will write curl. Now you can test this endpoint on your Postman, which I will be showing in the upcoming videos. I will be more elaborate of what I'm doing in the upcoming videos. This is just a brief if you guys are just starting with the Flask application. Okay, so if anyone is thinking that I am just trying to rush things, no. I will explain in detail each and every component of Flask. And I will be also looking at the comments like what you guys are interested in learning. So in order to run this, I will write curl -x and then I will write get and then localhost, because this application is running on the localhost, and then port, which is 5000. So I simply hit this. You can see the request is called here, but it is returning a 404 because there is no endpoint defined which can support this request that I made. So there is no home path or root path on this application right now. So the root path will be something like this if I support. Okay, so there is nothing like this as of now. So what I have to do is I have to give a slash and then I will write API. Now this is a get call, and you can see here it displays that this was a get call and it was able to catch the endpoint that we have defined, and it has returned the else part, which is the message. In our next video, we will look at different type of request types that we have, request method, how our endpoint supports post, how we can handle the request payload, and what different kind of things we can do when we receive a post call, or what are the different response structure we can define and return. Thank you.